Very good evening. Special programme with a difference this evening. The key difference is we don't need a transmitter to broadcast this programme. A couple of guys with very loud voices. I question even whether we need microphones to broadcast this programme, and the arguments have been going on since they arrived in the studio. We're politically correct. We've got the stadium announcers of both Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday in the studio. And I delivered that, by the way, in alphabetical order. Sheffield United comes before Sheffield Wednesday. I'm politically correct. I have a reddish shirt and I have a sort of a darkish blue jacket. And here, I'm surprised you're not in red. From Sheffield United, the very well-known Gary Sinclair. He's a nightclub owner in Sheffield as well. I'm sure he'd want me to mention that. And Shaun Leigh, the long-serving stadium announcer at Sheffield Wednesday. But you're both long-serving, and you've been arguing over how long you've been doing it. I'm thinking 23 or 24 years in both cases. Come on, Gary, when do you date to at the Lane?
93, 94. My predecessor was a wonderful man, Ian Ramsey.
Yes.
And as long as I live, I will never emulate his creation of beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. So that is enshrined in stadium announcing history at the Lane. And God bless him for that, because I'd have never thought of it.
No, but I mean, when I actually first heard it, I thought, oh, that's a bit cheesy, you know, beautiful downtown. But it just caught on, didn't it?
The fans love it.
Yeah.
There's T-shirts, there's memorabilia. It's just a great phrase.
You've got to match that now, Shaun Leigh. But you can match Gary in longevity, can't you?
Certainly, yeah. Round about the same time, actually. Started doing the music. First time around in the box, in the PA box, 1987.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a while.
I'm thinking 87, 13
87.
plus 16, that's 29 years.
Yeah, it is.
But in the role as front man with the mic in the stadium?
That was 94, I think it was.
About 94, yeah. So that's 6 plus 16, that's 22. He beats you for that.
Well,
he beats you.
That's the only thing he's going to beat me on.
Right, Wembley appearances you were.
Oh, well, you've lost that one.
Wembley appearances.
You first.
On the pitch at Wembley, Gary.
Well, Wembley, I mean, my first taste of I think you explain for the viewers, one of the privileges you get as a stadium announcer is, should you reach the hallowed turf at Wembley, you are invited to address the supporters on the pitch. So the first occasion for me was 2003 at Millennium Stadium, because they were rebuilding Wembley. So it was at the Millennium Stadium, and we lost 3-0. But I always remember the Sky lady, it was at the time, she says, Here's the microphone, and if you get nervous, just hand me the mic back. And I just looked at her and went, you're not expected to see me again, are you, darling? I said, I'm off to them lads over there. And that was it. And it's the most fantastic experience, and Shaun will tell you, I mean, to stand, and when it went to Wembley for the first time, I was like walking around the pitch trying to find the spot where Jeff Hurst smashed it in, and I'm thinking, I'm going to stand on that spot. If I do nothing else, I'm just going to stand on that spot. But it's just the most amazing feeling and honour. And you've seen all your fans and your pictures and all go on the big screen, and it's just surreal, really.
That phrase, if you get nervous, I can't imagine that in your case at all.
No, you don't.
You never got the microphone back.
You haven't got time for nerves.
Well, yeah, but not everybody could do it. I mean, you could get people who are comfortable broadcasting to thousands or millions behind a radio microphone and never seen, but wouldn't be comfortable, Shaun, necessarily doing what you do.
Yes, very true. Very true.
And I think it even happened once, but we won't talk about who it was, but I think it may have happened once.
It did happen, which is why I got my first chance, really, actually doing the pitch at Hillsborough. The commercial radio station in Sheffield used to present match days, and on this particular day, the regular presenter was on holiday, so they got the breakfast show guy to do it.
Yeah, seems sound,
yeah. 1:30, he strolls out onto the pitch, does his sound check, turnstiles open, goes back down at 2:15 to do his bit, and he just turned around and said to the events manager from the radio station, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, there were 35, 36,000 in, but he just sort of froze
Stage
and
fright.
said, I can't do it. So everyone was flapping, and yeah, they just said, you might have to do it. I said, well, go on then, I'll give it a go. So that was the first time, and yeah, nervous is an understatement.
Yeah. Do you still feel it? Did you still feel it?
Yeah, I think if you don't, then Gary will tell you the same. I think if you don't, you're probably in the wrong job, aren't you?
When I first started, and you'd be the same era. We had a little studio at the back of the stadium that we've now since moved back into. But Ian, bless him, the equipment was the old twin turntables, you know, the records.
Yeah.
And I can always remember walking in with like a box of 7-inch singles and thinking, oh, they'll play anything here, like. But so it wasn't so much. I was on the actual.
You were behind the scenes.
We were behind the scenes.
Do you reckon that was
it
better?
later evolved. I love it because I mean, obviously, I've done 8 years on radio as well, and I love that radio environment, the one-to-one. But the stadium announcer is a totally different baby, where you're called on to do so many things, and it changes in the flick of a finger.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you can have, Shaun will tell you, you can be in the most joyous, celebratory mood, and everything's going great. But then you have to drop and put a different facade on for the serious, you know, the obituaries and the really sad parts that really, you know, you have to hold it together. And there has been some, you know, notable ones. I mean, for me, Derek Dooley passing, Gary Speed and Shred, #1 fan. Yeah. You have to sort of blank out every other emotion and then just do your job and read the script that's been prepared and things you can't you can't prepare for that. You just have to go with the emotion of that moment. Yeah. And it's quite touching. But then again, you get other moments where you're celebrating promotion or wins in huge matches. And you become the fan with a microphone and you just go crazy. Yeah. And it's got me in bother no end of times. But,
we will talk about getting in bother. People always want to know about the mistakes, but on your theme just now, Alan Hodgkinson, Martin Harrison, the revered
Martin, bless
photographer
him, it's
as well.
coming around that anniversary,
you know,
and it's
some sad times there.
Yeah.
And just to say, it's just a matter of mood. And you've got any number of presentations, Shaun, to conduct. You've got interviews to do.
Yeah. There's obviously we get old players out at half time and things like that need to be, you know, we have to speak to them, and there's all sorts of different things, and what some people don't always realise, for me especially, and I've not actually sort of made a mistake as such doing that, but sometimes they don't tell you who the players is that's coming down to be interviewed. They might be doing the sort of the draw at half time, so you just grab a few words with them and ask them about the memories and everything. Some weeks it's not on the script,
right? So
they just expect you to know, and you look up the tunnel and you might see a player who's 75 years old.
Yeah.
If he's not one of the really, really well-known ones, and you look and you think, I'm going to appear really ignorant now because I've got to introduce him first of all, and I don't know who it is. So you've got to try and.
You've just got to say, oh, "Excuse me, I'm really sorry. Who are you?"
Well, what I always do now is, if it's not on the script, I find out. Yeah. One way or the other, we find out beforehand. But it's happened in the past where I've looked and thought, I really don't want to appear ignorant here, because obviously, if it's a player from the 80s or the 90s or even more recent, then obviously we know them just by sight. But when they are, you know, of advanced years, they don't all look the same as they did. It's
difficult. And then towards the kick-off, you've got to be the build-up man and whip the crowd up. I mean, they're usually pretty excited anyway. But it's hard to imagine now, isn't it, going to a stadium and not having a guy or a lady booming out over the mic, playing loud music, up-tempo music. There were days when that happened. You know, where there was very, very little. That is hard to imagine now, isn't it?
It is, and it's. I think there's been that many different studies done as well into sort of.
We're in the theatre of entertainment
and everything. Yeah.
Well, it's not just the players who are entertaining. You're there in a similar role before kick-off.
The big matches, and Shaun will tell you again, the real big matches, you put special effort, the music, the programming, the timing, and like when Wednesday we're in the sort of playoff finals and they've got the playoffs, and we've had the big matches, the cup semi-finals. You really put everything into it because it's absolutely buzzing before you even kick a ball. But then we can do the most fantastic, and we have this discussion many times at Lane. How can we improve the atmosphere? How can we build it up? And we can do everything perfect, and then 2 minutes into the match, the opposition score, and whatever you've done just pales. You know, it's forgotten.
It kills it. Everything, all your good work is.
And it's happened, of course, and then of course
happens a lot.
We've had. You know,
he's having a little dig there.
You know, we've been through the thin and thin years.
Listen, I mean, we've been on the crest of a slump for.
We've been through the thin and thin. I mean, it is trying to motivate you. I mean, last season I'd lost the will to live. I really had.
I think in the past,
I just couldn't. You've got to self-motivate, you know, and think, well, how am I going to do this? Because I had literally. I thought, well, this will be my last year. I can't watch this any longer. And then Tufty's come along and changed it, and it's just the magic is back at the Lane.
Indeed it is. And it has been at Hillsborough for a couple of seasons.
I was just going to say that when the team are not doing so well, it's difficult. It really is difficult, and I'm sure Gary will agree. When your team are really not doing what you think they should be doing, and you know, they're getting sort of relegated or whatever, or near to that. No matter what you do, sometimes I've been to Hillsborough some weeks and I've thought, I wish I'd have just paid my 20 quid to get in, because at 4:15 I'd be.
It's an old match. 20 quid at your place.
Well, you know what I mean. But
you can go. I mean, you're on it again at half time. You can disappear then.
If only. What the point I was trying to make is, I think when the team are not doing well, the job is difficult because everyone at the club comes in for some kind of criticism. You know, when the team are not doing well and they're losing week in, week out, everything about the club,
the pies aren't right.
Is rubbish. You
know,
the pies are
get a hot cup of coffee.
The beer's too expensive. The music's rubbish.
So you're always there at the finale as well. At the end of the season, you've either got something to play for, or you're on tenterhooks. And I can always remember when we were playing Wigan, and like, you know, we only needed a point to survive. And
I remember that.
And Jags caught that ball. I'm thinking, Jags, why did you do that? And then Unny gets the penalty, and I'm thinking, just plant it in Rosehead, a Bramall Lane stand, and we'll build a statue of you, mate. And then no, he scores it, and then your whole world implodes. You're thinking, well, what am I going to say at the end of this match? And you know, sometimes the best thing is say no. And if we've lost and had bad performances, I just go and shut down, and I'm the fan with the microphone. I'm as gutted as your fan walking away to the bus stop. And that's because we share that emotion. We're just the fans with a microphone.
And it would be easy for you to slip in that situation. It's been not unknown at certain grounds for fans with microphones, stadium announcers, to make unguarded comments.
Well, they've lost their job, haven't they? Quite a few of them.
That's why we're still in the job. I mean, we're a bit more savvy than that.
I wouldn't say I'd ever make a remark or anything like that. Never. I might think it, but certainly would never ever dream of saying it. But people do say to me when I announce an away goal, they do say, "Could you sound any more disappointed if you tried?" So you know.
Well, they say to me, why didn't you announce the away goal?
You've got to do it, but...
you do it in very sombre, almost funereal tones.
To the point sometimes where it's tongue-in-cheek, where they know that that I'm doing it on purpose. And it's the same when we were having bad times as well. It was a standing joke what we were going to play at the end of the game. Because obviously there were certain tunes that we played if we'd won. And then other times we'd play something that, you know, might sound like it's coincidental, but
you could come to grief with unintentionally. Unintentionally.
I once remember a very good friend of mine works for a national sports radio station. There's only one really, isn't there? And he was...
I don't know.
Sheffield Live.
I do. A national one. I do a lot of work for one, and you know, but there is another one, a radio station you're talking about. Yeah. I think they're both good. Diplomatic. Go on.
Very good. Well, he was doing the Saturday afternoon show at the time in the studio, going around the grounds, getting all the scores and the updates and everything. Sheffield Wednesday had lost quite a bit of a mauling as well. I don't know if it was 3 or 4-1 or something like that. And we played Another Day in Paradise at the end of the game. And while it was still playing, I got a text from a friend who's down in the studio in London saying, "Excellent choice of music after that score." And standing joke for quite a while.
You've come to grief a few times, I'm sure. I'd be disappointed if you hadn't.
I suppose the best one of, well, I call it my best of all time, was the playoff semi-final when we played Forest. And I just got carried away so much that game, and it's still on all the DVD video, you know, of the time. Because when Des Walker got that own goal, I just lost the plot. And it made the score 4-2, and I can always remember announcing, "Scorer for the Blades, number 4, Des Walker!" and like, they're looking around at me. And then in the director's box afterwards, I thought, oh, I'm up for it here. And one of the directors, I'll keep his identity secret, but he came up to me and says, "Gary, that's the most stupid comment I've ever heard of any announcer at any ground. I've had to apologise to the entire Nottingham Forest board." And then Kevin McKay walked past. He said, "Guys, I've not stopped laughing." And I thought, we'll call that quits then.
It's people take it as they will, won't they? Really, to be honest. So yeah, I think that you need to.
We've never said anything, I would imagine, to cause intentional offence, because we're not that sort of people.
No.
We do Mickey take.
Yeah.
I can remember Paul Jewell coming up to me and says, "You are a right wind-up merchant, you."
I was going to say something else. I thought I was going to have to apologise. Go on.
And it was because I never utter the word Sheffield. I have a speech impediment. So it's always the visitors or the travelling supporters, or and Shaun reciprocates it now, and it's become a bit of a standing joke.
I think that's one thing that we're missing at the moment: a Steel City derby.
We'll be back next year, mate. We're coming for you.
I'm looking forward to that duel between the two of you, having heard all this conversation. What we're going to do in part 2, because we've got a 5-minute break coming up, we're going to hear about the origins of Annie's song, the selection of that choice of music for Sheffield United, and the anthem, the words that go with it. Also, Hi Ho Silver Lining at Sheffield Wednesday. I'm trying to think when that came in. Both of these are extremely effective ways of getting into the match. And I'm also interested in hearing about the problem you share with the likes of us in immediately identifying a goal scorer, and how difficult it can be when certain teams play in stripes and you can't read the numbers on the back. I'm not looking at anybody in particular, Mr. Sinclair, when I say that. Yes, whereas I can read the Sheffield Wednesday. I've got to admit, I don't like the Sheffield Wednesday redesigned shirt. I'm not a great fan of it. I prefer the stripes, but I can read the numbers.
Well, they are good now. You can see them. I mean, as you know, I'm colourblind, so I've always struggled with the numbers on the back of a striped shirt. Anyway, depending on, you know.
Has nobody told you you're playing red and white then?
Well, looking at your shirt, Gary, I'm struggling to understand why you would wear.
Yes, he has. I don't know if the cameras have picked it up. I'm sure that they have.
I thought it was in black and white here tonight.
The red socks. He's mostly in blue.
It's me flying the blue and white flag as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been fascinating hearing from you. You've got some great tales to tell, some great memories to relive, and indeed we'll go into those songs, how they identify goal scorers and mistakes they've made over the years in about 5 minutes. I do hope you'll rejoin me with both Gary Sinclair and with Shaun Leigh. See you in 5. See you.